Saturday morning, and it's time to kick off the Experts program. And this final weekend in July, we're going to be talking technology with our tech expert, Luis Alvarez. Hi, Luis.
Hey, Mark. How are you?
Doing really great. So we've got a great story to start things off with today. Bill Gates has got a new company that he's investing in, Breakthrough Energy Ventures, and he's kicking like a $20 million investment into this in order to change air conditioning. And what is it about air conditioning that they want to change, and what's the difference between what they want to do and what we currently have?
Well, before we get to that, one of it's not any news that it's becoming warmer and that hot temperatures lasting longer. All you have to do is look at the Northeast last week and Texas today, and even in the Pacific Northwest going into this weekend. They're expecting, temperatures to be up in record levels. And so what that means is that a lot of folks in areas of the country like the Pacific Northwest that never thought they would need air conditioning. Hey, here in Monterey, who needs air conditioning? Well, there are days when you do, but now they're starting to invest. And the problem with the traditional air conditioner that, has been around for years is that it uses these refrigerants that are environmentally damaging, and they're very expensive to run. So they take a lot of energy, and Bill Gates is looking, like a lot of people, to find clean technology investments that can upend the traditional way of thinking of air conditioning. So he's funding this company called Breakthrough Energy Ventures that, rather than using the traditional refrigerants that we're used to, those cold pipes that air flows over so that you can create the cool air that comes into your house or into your office space. Instead, they're using something called liquid desiccants, which do the cooling and dehumidifying work done by refrigerants, but do it in a way that's environmentally friendly and potentially could serve as because it's salt water, it can potentially store energy as well as provide cooler air.
What are we looking at as far as what they're going to replace the refrigerants with?
So this liquid desiccant, they call it, is basically a proprietary liquid that they've created. It's like salt water, but it has very specific formulation, and they're not sharing. That's kind of their secret sauce. But what they claim is that this liquid can serve as a replacement for the traditional fluorocarbons and hydrochlorocarbons. These are tough words to say, that are common in refrigerants today. Whether it's an air conditioner or even your refrigerator uses these type of cooling systems. So if you can find a way that you can eliminate them, you can actually reduce the harm to the ozone layer and reduce pollutants that go into the atmosphere.
Because of the move away from the CFCs, the cost of refrigerants has gone sky high, particularly if you have a compressor, an air conditioning compressor that uses the older style R12, which was the original AC refrigerant. That stuff is $200 a pound for a little can of it. It's $200. And then the R134, which was what they replaced R12 with in the 80s, that's gotten much more expensive. And now there's something called 1234 that they're using in new vehicles, and it's a new refrigerant. And every time they change the refrigerants become more environmentally friendly. But this sounds like it's something that just gets away from CFCs completely. One thing that's interesting about this is that it can be used to store energy. So are they talking about your air conditioner could also become a heater as well?
They've proven that you can store electricity basically in salt water by the motion of the electrons within the salt and the interaction with the water. So there are places where they actually do use them like batteries, where they produce energy using solar power or wind power and then store them in these big saltwater tanks that act like a form of batteries. So the idea is that these air conditioners, when they're not being used, they can be used as storage for electricity to be used during peak demand. So multi-purpose is the answer. It would be interesting if they were able to take this to market, because I think, as you and I both know, the demand for air conditioners is just going to skyrocket. And in fact, in the climate bill that was just negotiated between the Democrats in the Senate, there's billions of dollars specifically targeting low-income homes to retrofit them with ACs because of concerns of climate change and poor families not being able to afford that kind of appliance, and being left out when it gets into the hundreds of degrees, over 100 degrees in some places. So this is a challenge that I think a lot of technology companies are embracing and trying to innovate our way out of it.
Well, and by the way, 4% of global greenhouse gas emissions currently come from air conditioning. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but what the concern is that as countries like China and India become more prosperous, we will see that number rise because they will be adding more air conditioning. The one thing I do want to add about putting air conditioning in and making it like, some sort of a government thing that they're going to give to people, particularly poor people, because I had a friend who lived in a poor person's apartment complex back in Memphis a few years ago, and they had air conditioning at the place. But the problem was it was out more often than it was on. What the real problem is always, we always find this, Lewis, is the government will come in and they will pay to have something installed. But then it's going to be up to the property owner or whomever to maintain it. And that's where it always falls off the cart, because they had an air conditioning system at this apartment building and it broke down like every month during the summer. And my friend lived upstairs and said, on the days when the AC unit didn't work, the people that lived upstairs had to leave the building. They just they could not stand to be inside. So the only thing I'm concerned about is, you can go ahead and spend billions of dollars of installing air conditioning units on apartment buildings that poor people live in and houses and so forth. But if the equipment isn't maintained like normally it would be, then you're getting nowhere fast, because it always comes down to what are the costs afterwards. Yes, it's great to have that put in, but what are the costs afterwards and who's going to take care of that? And then a lot of times people are looking at maintenance as being a handout as well, and they don't want to have anything to do with maintaining something. They just want to get something for free.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of these projects now that you're seeing that the government is paying for have to be sustainable, which is a phrase that you think of in terms of the environment. But really what they're saying is, hey, we'll give you money to build a park, but you got to give us a plan for how you're going to maintain it. We don't want to build a park and have it just go to pot. So if you don't have a plan for paying for the ongoing support and maintenance of it, then you're not going to get the money up front.
All right. That's Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us today here on Power Talk. Online, it's alvareztg.com, @AlvarezTG. That is their Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-TEAM. That's 866-784-8326.
And looking ahead to Monday, we're going to be talking about how something that was a feature in American homes for over 100 years may soon be disappearing.
Yep, your POTS line that we all grew up with, that phone plugged into the wall. Well, that plug to the wall may disappear. Well, will be disappearing from new homes and new installations as of Tuesday, August 2nd.
All right, and that's Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group. Luis, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
You too, my friend.